All right, so moving right along, I am moderating Creative Collaborative Opportunities Meeting the Fair Housing Challenge. And we are so glad that all of you have joined us today for this important discussion. We have assembled many accomplished professionals who are addressing these challenges every day. Today's event is presented by the St. Louis City Civil Rights Enforcement Agency along with its community of contributors. And at this time, we'd like to bring up our Executive Director of the Civil Rights Enforcement Agency. His name is Mr. Charles Bryson.
Well, good morning. Good morning. I am thrilled and honored to be here this morning. This is a historic day for the Civil Rights Enforcement Agency, or CREA. It's the first time we've ever put a conference on, and we now have, as of yesterday, I think the total was 199 registrants. So I know the staff and the planning committee worked hard to ensure that we had an appropriate number of people and that we were able to give and deliver quality information to you. So we are excited, as you all are to be here, we're excited to put this on. At this time, to provide the conference welcome, I'd like to introduce the Mayor of the City of St. Louis, Francis G. Slay. An attorney by trade, in 2013, Mayor Slay became, oh, you want me to stop that?
No, that's all right, that's all right, that's all right, I don't need
Mayor Slay.
Thank you. I didn't want to bore you with the details. I wanted to be here this morning, most importantly, to thank all of you for being here, thank all of you for what you do individually, what you do is in collaboration with each other. Thank all the different individuals and organizations that are represented here today for all the work you do day in and day out here in our community and in other contexts to make sure that we have a community that is welcoming, one that where everyone can come and have opportunities, and specifically in this case we're talking about fair and affordable housing, access to fair and affordable housing, which is one of the most important foundations to a quality of life. So what we're doing here, what you're doing, and what you all do every day is so important to all the achievements, all the successes that we're trying to achieve as a city, as a region, and as a nation. As the title of this conference suggests, we want to share our resources and collaborate with other communities, organizations, institutions, individuals to meet the fair housing challenges throughout the St. Louis region. Fair housing, based on the HUD proposed rule, includes affordable housing, housing for the disabled, and housing that meets the needs of elderly and our emerging immigrant populations. It is not only an opportunity, this is a right. This is a basic right that everyone has, and it's our job to help make sure that that right is respected and then everyone can take advantage of that. A good home is a good foundation. To strengthen that foundation, we challenge ourselves to build affordable housing that also creates closer connections to employment, quality education, transportation, and recreation opportunities. That means that we as a city are leveraging our resources. So having the affordable housing is an important component, but where it is and how it connects with the broader community is also very, very important. And we recognize that as well. For example, we're using community development block grant funding and affordable housing trust funds to develop affordable housing within a half a mile of frequent transit like Metro Link and bus routes or other major thoroughfares. It makes it easier for people to get to work and access other amenities. During this conference, you will hear about other projects we have in the works, and you will have an opportunity to learn and share your learn about other best practices and share your best practices, and also we can all benefit by your knowledge and experiences. All of us exchanging these can benefit as well. So once it's enacted, municipalities will decide for themselves how to implement HUD's affirmative further fair housing rule. But for the city and the region to become even more competitive as a destination, it is important for us to work cooperatively to make sure that we provide the most basic element of the rule that everyone has an opportunity to succeed, that everyone has an opportunity at a good quality of life for themselves and their families. So I want to thank Charles Bryson. I want to thank Civil Rights Enforcement Agency, our board, of course, and those of you on the Conference Planning Committee for your work to bring us together today. I'd like our board members and the Planning Committee to please stand, if you would, so we can recognize you. I want to thank you in a very public way. And there's a number of my cabinet members that are here. I'm not going to recognize them all. I know that's going to be taken care of, and I'm told that the recognitions are going to be doing someplace else. But I want to thank my great team of individuals within, well, I'm going to ask them all to stand. Charles is one of them, of course, and I know we have, well, David's here, and I saw Fred Wessel's here, and Sable's here, as well as Bill Seedoff, I know, is here. Well, we have a number of our cabinet members here as well that will be joining us. If they're not already here, some of them will be joining us. But I've got a great team of individuals within city government I'm proud to work with. Thank you for all your great work. I also want to thank the many HUD officials for being here today, especially those from our regional HUD office. You have been great to work with over the years, and I look forward to our continued partnerships as we move our city and our region forward. Thank you again for your work, and have a productive and I hope an enjoyable conference.
Thank you, Mayor, for those words, and I greatly appreciate it. Some of you have asked, what are the conference goals, our goals? They're simple. First, at some point in the near future, the Affirmatively Furthering Fair Housing Proposed Rule will stop being a proposed rule. It may actually be signed into law. When this occurs, it will likely reshape the way we think about and act on fair housing issues. Cities and counties across this nation must be ready to make structural changes in the way we think about HUD and fair housing. The way I read the document, HUD wants us to stop categorizing people, but to see each person as one of a whole community. Not all persons who are low income want to live in one area. Not all persons with disabilities want to live in a group home. Not all seniors want to live in a senior high-rise. And no, not everyone has or wants a vehicle. One must agree that categorization of people has led to myopic views which their needs are, and categorize them in that way. The Affirmatively Furthering Fair Housing Proposed Rule, and perhaps a sea change at HUD in general, is one that says all persons must be given opportunities to succeed. This means the placement of fair and affordable housing somewhere near mass and public transportation, along with the path towards employment opportunities, is critical to everyone's success. And we must not forget, and as I understand Chris CREA will remind us, quality education, medical services, and recreation must also be considered in that mix. Mayor Slay on many occasions has discussed the need for quality education and the role of lack of education and opportunity playing a role in the occurrence of crime. It takes quite a bit of effort to have blended communities, and we each and every person is valued and has the key word of the day, a chance for opportunity. To create opportunities for us, we must all work together, as the mayor said. And while I represent the city of St. Louis, I'm also a person of the region. Collaboratively, we create housing, employment, recreation, and transportation opportunities for everyone. Hence the title, Creating Collaborative Opportunities. For it is only when we act collaboratively that we as a city and a region, as the mayor said, can become truly successful. It is now in that spirit that I bring to the podium someone who has been singing that hymn, the hymn of collaboration, for years, in using a multidisciplinary approach for both individuals and communities as a whole. Chris CREA is the president and CEO of Beyond Housing. As it states in his bio in the program, since 1993, Beyond Housing has worked to develop strong communities and quality affordable housing. Most importantly for me and for CREA, Chris has used an opportunities-based approach in Pagedale, among others. Chris will outline his efforts in Pagedale to bring housing, employment, education, medical services, and recreation to a community that needed them all. Ladies and gentlemen, please allow me to introduce Beyond Housing Executive Director, CEO, and President, Chris CREA.
Thank you, Charles, and to the board. It's a pleasure to be here. And before I start my remarks about the work of Beyond Housing, look, it is clear that the shadow of Michael Brown is upon us. It's clear that this conversation today, and quite frankly, just about all of them that are happening in our region, has the shadow of Michael Brown on us all. And I think we have an obligation to not let his life and death be in vain, that we tackle the tough stuff, the things that make us uncomfortable, the things that we have yet to deal with in a real and meaningful way for so many years. I would allege now is the time. Now is the opportunity for us to do that. So as I describe our work, hopefully there are some thoughts and ideas in our work that get to the underlying challenges that happen in so many places in our community. And if we can do a little bit of replication of some of the hard work that all of our partners and friends and the leaders in the communities we work in have been doing for many years, hopefully we won't have to have another Michael Brown tragedy in our region. So Beyond Housing, we exist because we believe in the idea that home matters. And yes, we start with the physical place where somebody lives to give folks a good place to start, but we know home is so much more than that. Home is the life in and around where people live that fuels and draws the best out of everybody that lives there. We're a place-based community development organization, and we do work all throughout the region from St. Louis City to St. Louis County, St. Charles County, Jefferson County. But our place where we drive a majority of our resources is in the Normandy Schools collaborative geography. There are 24 municipalities in this particular geography, and the leadership of that geography, and there are several here in the audience tonight, created an initiative called 24-1. 24 communities with one vision: to create strong communities, engaged families, and successful children. This initiative started around 2008. The apex of the foreclosure crisis and the ongoing struggles of the Normandy School District were well in hand. And the leaders said, what can we do together? We have challenges. If the foreclosure problem continues without being addressed, what happens to our home ownership rate? What happens to our housing values? If our school district continues to struggle, what happens to our ability to attract and keep people here in our community? So we work together to create this vision, and the best part about that vision is strong communities and successful children. Yeah, most folks can get that, but what the leadership understood, that if the people in our community are not engaged in this work, if the people that live in our neighborhoods don't roll up their sleeves and say, what is my part to make my community better, we are not going to be successful. So when we think about a thriving community and we think about the work in 24-1, it's really understanding that if you're going to have a place that the fabric of your community is strong, healthy, and vibrant, you have to focus on housing. You have to focus on education. You have to focus on health, jobs, and economic development. Failure to do so will mean, yes, you're doing fine work, but you're not going to get to transformational, sustainable change over time. And how do we, as an organization, how do the leadership of this community make all of that happen? So let me see if I can describe a little bit about how we went from that notion, that vision, that idea to where we're at today. So the first thing we're able to do is, one, bring the communities together. And those of us who lived in St. Louis long enough, if you can get 24 mayors to sit together around a common table and have a consistent conversation, that in and of itself is pretty amazing. But we've done more than just have conversations. We were able to secure the funding, and I know there are funders in the room, funding to allow us to have staff on the ground to facilitate this work. So we secured funding, and then we did a year-long planning process. A year. Right? So people have been asking us, well, Chris, what are you guys going to do in Ferguson? Well, we don't have relationships in Ferguson today. It took us a year and then some in the 24-1 footprint to build those relationships. So we believe in the idea of community engagement under a continuous circle of ask, align, and act. First and foremost, we ask folks in community, what are the challenges, what are the solutions, and how can we do this together? Then how do we align resources? Because in the region, we're not want for great organizations doing great work, philanthropic folks, giving away money. What we don't have is the alignment of all these resources in a common place, where we put resources together that make sense and that can build off each other. That's not simply in our historical silos, which is the easier thing to do. So once all of that began in place, we said, all right, let's get started, right? My favorite part is the act part. I'm a little impatient, so that whole year-long planning process made me uneasy, but I knew it was the right thing to do because I wanted to start doing some stuff. So here's what we've been able to do along those fronts. And again, when we think about the work, it's again, how do we do all this stuff intentionally? So on the housing front, clearly we have a long history of developing housing. Today we own over 420 units of affordable housing, all in St. Louis County and the inner-ring suburbs, with over 50% of them in the 24-1 footprint. So since the initiative started, we've built 37 new homes in Hillsdale. We've built 41 new homes in Pine Lawn. We've bought and rehabbed over 60 existing homes in the footprint, either sold to new homeowners or added to our rental portfolio. We've given out grants to over 150 existing homeowners in a variety of communities, mostly seniors and disabled homeowners, for major building system stuff. New roofs, new windows, new HVAC systems, to allow that senior who raised their kids in this community, who's been there for 30, 40, 50 years, but now they don't have the economic capacity to take care of their homes, to be part of the change, to feel good about their home again, to feel like my house now is what it used to be when I first moved here. Overall, we've invested over $50 million into our community on the residential housing stock. A significant injection of capital. It's all taxable housing stock, right? Yes, we're not-for-profit, but the way we develop this, they're taxable entities because we use tax credits on a lot of our work, so it's all feeding the tax base, helping the schools, helping the local communities. We built a 42-unit senior building. We are about to break ground on a 53-unit senior building in Pine Lawn, directly across the street from Barack Obama Elementary School. Intentional. The district built a beautiful new school over 3 years ago. Right across the street, regrettably, there was a vacant liquor store and some vacant and abandoned buildings, so the children walked into this beautiful new school building, and outside of their floor-to-ceiling windowed library, what did they see? Something that was totally disconnected from this beautiful new school. So we bought all that property, knocked it all down. Hopefully in about 30 days, we're going to start construction. And then we're going to do some intentional intergenerational programming. We're going to bring the seniors into the school and say, teach the kids, mentor the kids, read to the kids. And then we're going to bring the kids over to the senior building to keep it full of life and energy, to make sure that the seniors and kids understand each other, right? We have a big disconnect in our world today about, unless you look exactly like me and have my exact same life experience, we don't interact a lot. So how do we intentionally make that happen? That senior building is literally within 2 blocks of the 41 homes I said we built in Pine Lawn. And it's with about 5 or 6 blocks of about 50 homes that we rehab in Pine Lawn. And oh, by the way, we bought a whole bunch of vacant schools from the Normie School Collaborative, including Garfield Elementary, which as a young man I could probably hit with a baseball, but it'd probably take me at least 2 throws now to get it there. We bought that building. We're going to spend $7 million rehabbing it, and that will be the new world headquarters of Beyond Housing. We're going to move all of our operations in that particular building to keep investing intentionally in this space. So we say, how do we drive dollars intentionally to make a significant difference? Let's talk a little bit about economic development. So right across the parking lot from our senior building that we built in Pagedale, folks in community told us, once we asked, hey, what else do you want and need? They said, wow, we haven't had a grocery store since the 1960s. I didn't know what a food desert was, and I didn't know we were in one, right? It's just kind of what happens in community, right, over time. You just lose things. You lose your assets, like access to a grocery store, healthy, affordable food. So we knew nothing about grocery stores, or quite frankly, not a whole lot about economic development other than the community needed some. We created a TIF, quietest TIF in the St. Louis region. We're the master developer in the TIF. Why is a not-for-profit a master developer in the TIF? 2 reasons. One, we wanted the voice of the community always to be heard. And two, we thought there was money to be made. And if there's money to be made, we'd like to make it, because guess what we're going to do? We're going to put it back into the community. Right. So over 3.5 years ago, we built a 16,000 square foot Save Lot on the corner of Page and Ferguson. Right now, we're trending to do $4.5 million in sales at our store, which will be about a 25% increase from the store's opening. Last month, we had the highest average weekly sales ever in the store's history, over $93,000 weekly sales in our store. It's an affirmation of the simplest thing: folks got to eat, right? And they'll go to store in community and they will spend money. And yes, I want Save a Lot to be successful. I want Save a Lot to make money too. I want to show you can be in communities like ours and be successful. Caddy corner from the grocery store and senior building, let me go back. In the bottom of the senior building, the city of Pagedale's never had a bank, ever, in its 60 plus years of existence. Now they have a full service Midwest Bank Center branch on the bottom of Rosie Shields Manor, our senior building. So what we said to the bank was, you can be successful here, just work with community, work with us and others. So in its first full year of operation, the bank is 500% above their depository schedule, meaning what they thought they were going to get in deposits, they are 500% ahead of pace. Proven you can make money in community, right? Just got to be smart, you got to be wise. Not the same model as other places, but you can indeed get it done. Caddy corner from that. We just did a groundbreaking a couple weeks ago. The heavy machinery is on the site. We're building a 4-screen, 375-seat movie theater and a community health building. So when I tell people we'll build the movie theater, there's a lot of those kind of perplexed looks. Now, Will's heard enough so he can laugh now because he knows it's a good thing. So there's the perplexed looks, and I said, look, here's the important part to understand about any community, right? So everything we've done to date has been kind of those hierarchy of need stuff, food and shelter, kind of the basics. Well, that's not what makes up a community that works, that's healthy, that's thriving. What makes up a community that works is all the different kinds of things, like, yes, entertainment. You get to stay in your community and go see a movie. You don't have to go to the Galleria or the Esquire or those other places. They're fine places, but they're not in your community. Wouldn't it be great if you have a 2-minute drive and go to your own movie theater and leave your money in community? Because guess what happens? When you leave money in community, it's going to recycle back. And guess what we're going to do? We're going to keep putting it back in community. I'm not the smartest guy in the world. That's not brain surgery, right? That's like, look, how do you keep revolving dollars in your community? Let's go up to St. Charles Rock Road. That light rail stop, for those of you who know the light rail stop, it has a sea of asphalt, it has a flea market, and the level of economic development at our light rail stop is 2 7-Up vending machines. We think we can do a little bit better than that. About 2,000 people roll through there every day. The flea market, the owner has been indicted by the feds. They've been raided 4 times for selling stuff that may not be legit. I'm not aware of that. I don't. My wife doesn't like Gucci bags, so I had no reason to take a peek. It's a great opportunity to say what could go there. So again, in our Ask, Align, Act model, we spent over 6 months talking to community about what would you like to see here, right? There's this fancy phrase called transit-oriented development, which simply means we got a train who rolls through here every day. And what could we develop around where the train stops that makes sense for folks? So like, look, if you can park your car and not drive it every day, you can save between $5,000 to $8,000 a year. And if you're working, let's say, at the hospital systems, and you're making 30 grand a year, gross, and we can put 5 grand back in your pocket, that's real money. Real things you can do about the rest of your life. Can you save? Can you save for your kids' college? Do you have money to take care of when the roof starts leaking or when the washer and dryer breaks, all those things that happen in real life? Community said, yes, we're interested in that, but more importantly, what we're interested in our community, we don't have any place to have birthday parties or funeral repasts or other things that are about our families. Can we have a place here that we can do that? And we said, yes, you should have that, just like you should have a bank and a grocery store. and good housing. So we're working on that. I'm hoping by 2016 we're going to see some shovels in the ground to start that work there at the St. Charles Rock Road light rail stop. Quick up the Natural Bridge, and where's I need a timekeeper. Charles, just give me a 5-minute warning so I make sure I don't talk too long. Natural Bridge, between 170 and Jennings Station Road, 10 cities. And if you drive through there and you pay attention to kind of the aesthetics, it's clear it's not connected. There's no kind of thought about, hey, how does our community connect to yours? So we talked to all the mayors and said, look, we have Umsel Express Script smack dab in the middle. We have a great streets project. It's very exciting, going to make that center part of that stretch walkable, bikeable, again, hopefully attract more developers there. But what can we do on either side of it to take advantage of the catalyst of what's happening there? So we said, we put people in a bus, and we drove down and said, this time because you're not driving, kind of look at the streetscape and tell us kind of what you see. What they saw was it was a hodgepodge of stuff. So we said, maybe we can think about common sign ordinances, right? What kind of signs? Where do the signs go? What do they look like? What materials are they used? How about a common lighting ordinance, right? So again, where are the lights, right? What do they look like? Again, so there's a sense of continuity on this stretch. So when people roll through here, other than being worried about getting a speeding ticket, you know, what does it tell you? So we're working on that. In addition, we've talked to the community about what else would you like to see here, right? Again, the fabric of a place. And folks told us they want a grocery store. They'd love a sit-down restaurant, right? A lot of things, again, you ask folks in the community, they will be glad to tell you. But the key thing is you can't ask and then not follow up. Because folks in the community get a little weary of people asking. And I promise you the folks in Ferguson are getting a little weary of everybody asking them a bunch of stuff if there's not going to be some follow-up. Like, what are you going to do? I'm weary of telling people here are the challenges unless somebody's really going to help us. Let me jump to education. Not a newsflash, not normally struggling. State took over, a new appointed board, turned over staff, there's about 50% new teachers, many challenges. We believe that at the core of a strong community is a strong public education system. And a strong public education system will be driven by strong families and strong communities. So for the last 4 years, we've been working with district leadership to say, what are the things that we as an outside partner can do to help the families and you be successful, right? We're not educators, right? We're not going to be in the classroom telling you how you should teach. But what are the things that will be important to help kids be successful and as a byproduct, the school district be successful, and as a byproduct, the community gets stronger? So the first thing we heard early on was the provision of pre-K was just not very good. Not that the providers didn't care about our children, but the biggest challenge of the 35 licensed pre-K providers that they have is their main source of revenue is from the state, and we rank 47th, 48th, 49th in provision of dollars to providers of pre-K for low-income children. This is a business model, right? These aren't not-for-profits. These are all mom-and-pop businesses who got into this because they care about kids. The main source of revenue is terrible, right? So they're doing the best they can, but how they attract teachers, retain teachers, train teachers, how they work on their facilities. So what we said is, well, who works in this space? Because it's not what we do, right? Now, as you heard, I'm not afraid to try new things, but this is something that's very technical. I'm like, no, there's got to be somebody who does this. Well, United for Children, a fantastic organization here in the region, have been working for years doing technical assistance to pre-K providers, but they didn't do it in our geography. So we said, can you come join us? That if this school district is ever going to get better, we have to prepare our young children for the first day of kindergarten so they're ready. So you give the school district a chance because, as the school district has told us, over half the kids who show up the first day of kindergarten aren't ready. And you're running uphill in mud today, and every new cohort of kids is behind, and you don't have the resources to play catch-up. That's a recipe for continued disaster, and that's what we've been seeing. So what we've done with United for Children, a really radical thing, we're a not-for-profit. We raise money for them. Right? My not-for-profit friends and my CFO occasionally think we're crazy. Why are we raising money for other people? Well, why we're doing that is we need them in our community. We need their skill sets, their core competencies. That's not what we do. but we know our community has told us this is a need. And we view our role as how can we help fill that need. So right now, United for Children is working with 15 of those licensed pre-K providers. They have a scale that they use about, again, how is the facility getting better? Meaning, are the teachers better in the classroom? Again, are we moving a curriculum forward? Are we handling all the challenges that are there? Again, what are all the resources that are available? And all 15 of those providers have seen significant increases in their capacity to prepare children for the first day of kindergarten. We've also given out grants to all 15 of them to do physical improvements to their sites. A lot of them spent money on new playgrounds, right? We've seen a lot of our mom and pop providers that have to focus on their physical space, right? Because the inspectors come out and that's got to be right in their playgrounds while they need to be safe. A lot of them aren't updated, right? So again, how do we again help them get better? And then we said, hey, do we know what kindergarten readiness means? Right? Has the school district said, in our mind, here's kindergarten readiness from a social emotional standpoint and from a cognitive standpoint, right? What do the kids need to be able to do that will allow them to be kindergarten ready? That wasn't happening, so again, I'm not the sharpest tool in the shed, so I said, can we talk to each other? Can we share what that means? So again, as we look to help our children be successful, help our school district be successful, help our community be successful, can we have these kinds of conversations? Let me get to the school itself directly. So today we pay for 10 of the district staff. We pay for 10 of their staff. They're called parent liaisons. They are external facing staff, right? Their job is to understand what the needs are of the children and their families and then try to find the resources out in community through us and a whole host of other organizations, right? Critical need. The district has about 3,500 kids, and over 90% of them live in poverty. We have an annual mobility rate, meaning the annual turnover of kids at last report was 57%. How do teachers teach and how do children learn? Well, the reality is they don't very well, and the data tells us that, right? So again, how do we intentionally say what kind of resources can we bring to bear to help stabilize families when they hit those bumps in the road, right? So again, we're intentionally saying that's a need. How can we try to address that? College Summit, Big Brothers Big Sisters, and many other organizations are intentionally working with the school district, a lot of them funded by us again, right? So we go raise money because we need them to be at the schools working with the kids. Again, a lot of great stuff happening. We got a long way to go to make the district healthier and better. Two other things relative to kind of this idea of financial advisement and really thinking about money. So this year, for the third consecutive year, every child who enters Normandy Kindergarten gets a $500 Missouri 529 account for college. It's like form number 8. Just showing us this is what we do. Because your babies are going to go to college. We don't know where, but they're going to go. They need to know that. You need to know that. Don't let money be the reason why you think your child can't go. We understand that that shifts the mindset, and research tells us that simply by investing that modest amount, you're going to change behavior and change thinking. But the reason I like it is we get your cell phone number. So we can text you and tell you all the other stuff that's going on. Right? Let you know about other resources that are available, right? Build the relationship, right? To do this work, you gotta have relationships. We've also had over 200 kids at Normandy High School have a match savings program called the Viking Advantage Program. For every dollar that they and their family save for post-secondary education, we'll match it with $3. Again, an investment in their future. Let them know they can do it. The best thing about that program, and we're in our fourth year now, and we have the oldest group that are now juniors in college. The language in that space is the persistence rate. Means how many kids still in school. So of our almost 200 cohort of kids, and almost all of them are now in school, the persistence rate is 85%, which is off the charts good. Charles is giving me the hurry the heck up. All right, so let me touch base about health, and now I'll leave you with a final thought. So the movie theater sometimes overshadows the building right next to it, which is a 12,000 square feet, 2-story building where we're going to have 4,000 square feet dedicated to St. Louis County Health Department, where they're going to provide primary health care for our community. Pediatric care, family care, senior care. another 2,000 square feet in that second floor of that building. Department of Human Services in St. Louis County is going to provide a variety of social services, including having the Children's Trust Fund have a lot of mental health services be available there as well. And given what's going on in our communities, and particularly with our kids, again, it's a great opportunity. We run a program in addition to that called Passport to Health. We have 200 folks signed up, Passport to Health, and I could have asked Mayor Huddleston to talk about Butts and Guts and a few of the other programs that happen at St. Vincent's Community Center that, again, are about intentionally saying, let's get healthy. There is a physical passport that we give folks. Let's talk about your health. Let's talk about, your blood pressure. Let's talk about your body mass index. Let's talk about the meds you take. Let's talk about your dietary habits. We've created walking clubs and running clubs, and again, providing resources that say, if you are healthier, guess what? Everything else in life gets a whole heck of a lot easier. I'm going to have those resources be available for you when you need them, how you need them, in a way that you can access them. Let me leave you with a couple thoughts, because I'm not going to look at Charles. He's giving me the get off. There's more to tell about our story, and I'll hang around for a while, and we have some Q&A afterwards. Let me leave you with kind of three last thoughts. To do this work, and I think to be in this space, it reminds me of the Isaiah passage, where the Lord says, whom shall I send to deal with the challenges in our world? And Isaiah raises his hand. So I think if you're in this work, or you want to be in this work, you have to have a little bit of Isaiah in you, because you got to raise your hand. And that's good, a good start, but not sufficient. Then there's the Dr. King sense of having the drum major instinct. Everybody wants to kind of be in front of the parade and be seen and be recognized. But he has to be a drum major for justice and righteousness. But that's not enough either. Even in your space, you got to find other drum majors with you, right? You need somebody else who's going to lead their parade with you. One of the biggest issues that, and me and Senator Nasheed were just talking about, there's a whole lot of activity around Ferguson, right? A lot of people are talking. How do we get our parades to kind of line up together so we bring more energy and we bring more collaboration, theme of today? How do we, again, get people together? And the last thing is there's a song that I first heard during the devastation in Haiti called Lift Me Up. And the song lyrics, and I'll paraphrase it, says, if you could just lift me up to get me through the night so I can wake up tomorrow, I'll be strong enough to try. And a lot of times in this work, it's as simple as that. It's just being in space, being in community, being there for folks. Nothing magic, not building grocery stores or movie theaters. Those are all good things. But it's about each and every day there are challenges that folks in community face. And can we collectively be there to lift folks up for one more day, a little more energy, so I can get to the next day, so I can see if my life, for me and my family, can be a little bit better. I think we're on to something. We're not quite there yet. Thank you for having me. I'll be glad to answer any questions.